Hey guys, all right, so Module 12, Lesson 2, Improving Your Fitness. Let's get started. Okay, so vocab that y'all should already know: cardiorespiratory endurance, flexibility. We're really going to get into muscular strength versus muscular endurance today, and what all of these different things are and how we can improve them. Aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise. Yeah, so let's get into it. All right, so really quick, what is this exercise and what do you think it works? Do you think it works muscular strength or muscular endurance? And then what is this exercise? And do you think it's muscular strength or muscular endurance? All right, so if you said the first one was muscular strength, you are correct. That is the maximum amount of force that a muscle can generate once. So putting heavy weight on for a deadlift and seeing how much you can deadlift, that is an example of a muscular strength exercise. And the second one, if you said endurance, that is correct. That is the ability to repeat an exercise without tiring. So doing heavy weighted ropes and being able to do that for like a minute. That's just an example of a muscular endurance exercise. So you're working your muscle not just once, but continuously. So the difference between the two, the strength again is 1 to 5 reps. It's usually a 1 rep max, like a squat or a deadlift or even like a bench press. And then endurance is more your ability to repeat it, moderate weight, so 12 to 20 plus reps. Big difference between the two here, 30 to 50% of that 1 rep max. So for example, if you're squatting 200 pounds, you wouldn't be doing that for endurance. You'd be throwing maybe 100 pounds on the bar, right? 50% of that max. And then you would be doing, more than just 1 rep. You would be doing maybe 10 to 12 reps. Okay, so just some examples there. All right, so standard is still to develop a personal health action plan to address health goals. Okay, how can I improve muscular endurance through exercise? That's our essential question for today. Is we're going to learn, how we can figure out, how we can go ahead and improve muscular endurance, what exercises we can do to get that going. And then I can identify best practices to improve muscular endurance through exercise. So you guys at the end of this lesson will be able to identify that, those different exercises that will help improve your endurance. Okay, so the elements of fitness. So these are our 5 elements that we mentioned before, and these are our vocab words, or some of them are vocab words, but our cardiorespiratory endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So when you get a question asking what are the 5 elements of fitness, these are them. Okay, cardiorespiratory endurance, the ability of your heart, lungs, and blood vessels to send fuel and oxygen to your tissues during long periods of moderate to vigorous activity. So any sort of sport that you play, any sort of, running or hiking, things like that. Okay, so if you have cardiorespiratory endurance, you can run a mile in 8 to 10 minutes. You can hike Kennesaw Mountain without having to stop. Okay, just for an example. It's the ability for you to actually be able to sustain a workout that includes a lot of the lungs. Okay. All right, muscular strength. So you need muscular strength for all kinds of things. Like lifting a heavy box when you're moving, into your college dorm someday, tackling in football, lifting a cheerleading teammate, striking a soccer ball, all those types of things. Okay. Or just, if we're not just talking about sports, but, weightlifting, your strength again is how much your muscles can exert at that 1 rep max. All right. So it's how strong those muscles are. Okay, flexibility is the ability to move your body parts through their full range of motion. Ways to improve flexibility. Go ahead and let you guys answer that. But if you're thinking of, an example of flexibility that we do in class is our warm-up. We always make sure that we do our warm-up before we start any activity so that we are well prepared and we can reduce risk of muscle injury. Okay, body composition. We should know this from our previous module. I think it was module 10 maybe, when we were talking about nutrition. But how do we calculate it? Well, it's our BMI. Okay, so taking the height and the weight and multiplying it and dividing it and doing all those things, or just plugging it into a BMI calculator, or going to the doctor and having them evaluate you. And that's how we predict our body composition. Okay, but go ahead and answer this question. Having low overall body fat reduces your risk of what? Right, and if you said cardiovascular disease, other problems associated with being overweight or obese, like osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, anything like that. Okay, you were correct. All right, so muscular endurance, it gives you the power to carry out daily tasks without fatigue. So being able to go upstairs, walk to class, do chores at home. Question that, you can think about: who would struggle lifting 50 pounds or more above your waist? So thinking about 50 pounds, probably it's pretty moderate weight. A lot of you guys are probably like, yeah, that's easy, no problem. But all right, if you're doing that, all right, what about doing that multiple times? Okay, now if you're doing that multiple times, you might be able to lift it once, but doing it a bunch, that's kind of a different story. So the essential question again is, how do we improve that? Well, there's a lot of ways that you can improve it, but you have to start low and then build. Just like anything, you have to start somewhere. Okay, you can't just jump to heavy weight and go from there. So again, one more time, muscular endurance is the ability of your muscles to perform physical tasks over a period of time without tiring. Right? So how many times can you curl the bar, okay, or a dumbbell without tiring? All right, how many times can you do push-ups without tiring, right? We do push-ups for FitnessGram. All right, we do a lot of muscular endurance exercises in FitnessGram and cardiorespiratory. Okay, so a couple of ways to use resistance, and there's 3 types of exercises that we'll talk about here with resistance: isometric, isotonic, and isokinetic. Okay, so going over isometric, using muscle tension to improve strength with little or no movement of the body part. So pushing against a wall or another movable object. Examples of exercises that improve or that have isometric resistance is like a plank. Okay, you're pushing against the floor. A wall set, you're pushing against the wall. You're not really, you're using tension in order to build that muscle strength. Okay, isotonic exercise is combining movement of the joints with contraction of the muscles, right? So anytime you're lifting a free weight, doing pull-ups or push-ups and sit-ups, anytime you're moving the joints, right? So if I'm curling a bar, I'm moving my elbow joints, okay? And the way that my muscles contract and extend, that's how I break down that muscle and build it back up, okay? And then isokinetic exercise is exerting resistance against the muscle as it moves through a range of motion at a steady rate of speed. So like an exercise bike, using weight machines. So like at the gym, if you've ever seen those weight machines that have like pulleys and all types of things on it, using those to, take your muscles through a range of motion. For example, like a leg press machine, or even like a chest press machine, anything like that exerts that resistance against a muscle, okay, as it moves through a range of motion. So what type of exercise is this? Do you think it's isokinetic? I'm going to go back, isometric, or isotonic. So this is a plank, or I'm sorry, a push-up. I'm so sorry, push-up. Okay, what is a push-up? Isotonic. If you said isotonic, that is correct. Okay, what about a curl up? Same idea. All right, we're taking the joints through a range of motion here. Okay. So we're using muscles and joints, so isotonic again. Okay. We've got the squat, isotonic again. Now we've got the plank. All right, so that first one was isometric. All right, pushing against an immovable object using tension to build muscle. All right, and this last one is isokinetic. All right, she's using a bike. She's taking her body through a full range of motion. All right, so she is doing an isokinetic exercise. All right, so some exercises that you can remember here. We've definitely done in class already with FitnessGram. Okay, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. All right, we do those in our, and you guys will be doing a lot of this stuff this week. All right, deadlifts, bicep curls, triceps extensions, flies, single arm rows, rows with a bar. All right, what else? What are some other things that you can think of? Goodness, it's really it can be any movement, to be honest. It can be any movement that you are using moderate weight and doing more reps than less, right? That's how you build muscular endurance, the ability to continue to go. That takes moderate weight and more reps. Okay, we're not going to do this activity, so you guys can relax there. Okay, but obviously we're doing a Nearpod, so you're not going to turn to your neighbor, but just go ahead and answer these 2 questions, and they'll be popping up here in a second. All right, and then we're going to talk about the 4 principles, okay, and we'll talk about SMART goals again. All right, so our SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. All right, so that's what's next. We'll talk about in lesson 3, we'll talk about specificity, overload progression. We'll also talk about the FIT, which is frequency, intensity, time, and type. Okay, so that concludes lesson 2, and you guys can move on to lesson 3 next.